Marjot was sleeping in the bed, feeling pretty good with nothing to complain about. I was out on the road, using my bedroll, just off to the side, hoping nobody came up trying to steal the stuff I had. Marjot slept well. I woke up first at 6 a.m. when Marjot got up. She was sticking to the plan, research to figure out how to get my eye repaired. I told her explicitly not to let those cats in our bedroom when I left, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did something that got those critters in there. She got a fondness for them, and I like cats, but I also don't like animals in the house. Not much I can do for it if she lets them in when I'm gone, though. So Marjot researched, working her way towards a multi-analyzer, whatever that is. She seemed to know. She called it quits about 10 a.m. I did about the same. I come to find out later, she did let those cats in there, though she did her best to hide it from me for as long as possible. Turns out there's cat hair everywhere. I was having an alright time on the road, just feeling a little crabby because I hadn't had any fun. But it was alright, just walking, looking at the stars. And the sun came up the next morning, about 5, 6 o'clock. I headed out again. I was headed for the nearest friendly city. Not sure what I'd find. Some people hit me up on the road. I got rid of the cats I'd brought with me here. They didn't have a ton of money, but they had something. They couldn't afford that helmet I had that we were trying to get rid of. And they weren't interested in that weird face mask thing I was trying to get rid of. Marjot kept right on researching, occasionally spending some time to have a little fun, which I wish I could do on the road. Apparently I can't, though. Gotta stay focused on getting where I'm headed. I got close to the city, decided to call it a night, so I could enter there first thing in the morning. Marjot was sleeping in the bed. Heater had broken down. She had to spend some time repairing that. And she was letting a different kitty in the room every night. But it is what it is. Next day I woke up, headed towards the city. Marjot was hauling stuff around. Had some kind of request. Some outposts nearby that needed destroying. I made it to the city. And when I showed up, it was just a whole lot of people milling around. I did a little bit of exploring. I couldn't really take anything without making these people really mad at me. But there were people around with stuff to trade. Turns out, though, they didn't actually want to buy anything. They just wanted to sell stuff to me. So I explored a little bit. Tried to find all the traders amongst the people just going about their daily lives here. Thankful they weren't trying to kill me like most people in this place were. And again, there were all kinds of goodies about. Picking them up would have really angered everybody at me. I found a chess table. No one seemed to mind if I play that. Marjot is hell-bent on getting her research done, which is just fine. And I was just chilling out. Found another guy that wanted to trade. Only thing he wanted to buy, though, were my critters. He had tons of stuff to offer, but nothing to purchase. Nothing he wanted to purchase from me, I should say. So in the end, I decided this is probably a big waste of time. I was hoping to sell that helmet, but if nobody was buying, what good did it do? I decided to play a little bit of pool. They had an outdoor pool table. It just beats all, in my opinion. Maybe I can talk Marjot into this back home. Found another trader, but once again, he wasn't buying, only selling. He had a bunch of video games, which seemed pretty cool. They had lots of gun emplacements around. I certainly didn't want to get on the bad side of this gang. In the end, I just decided to pack up and leave. Turns out, wasn't anything here for me. There were some hostels nearby. I was going to try and offer them some gifts. Maybe they'd get more friendly with me. Maybe I could just give them these helmets. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't want them though. I was debating stopping in there. Marjot was in bed. It was about 3 in the morning. Turns out she let a bunch of those kitties in there before I ever got back. She built a bunch of beds out of some of the cloth we had laying about. Which may not be the best use of it when we need clothes again, but oh well. Other than that, she just worked on researching. The cats were going hungry. She let them in to start eating some of our meals in the freezer even, before she saw the better sense and probably going out and hunting something to feed to them. Last thing we need. Those cats eating all Marjot's meals. Her not being a good cook, she could be sick as a dog by the time I get home. She found a bunch of gazelles, started shooting at them. Turns out she's not the best shot though. She didn't want to risk angering a bunch of rhinos that were nearby. So she crept up on the gazelle, decided to give it the business close up. Lest she get trampled by a bunch of pissed off rhinos. And she killed the gazelle, which worked out just fine. About that time, something was hunting one of her kitties. So she screamed for them all to run inside, which they did just fine. And then she hauled that gazelle in that she'd killed for them, so they'd have food for a while. The warg was coming after Marjot at that point. She was literally being attacked by it while trying to get these cats fed. She did get assaulted by it, but she managed to get through the door. And the warg ended up running around. It was still starving. Somehow they're smart enough not to go after the boom rats, but it did kill one of the kittens. Poor Dolly is no more. Marjot had to get herself tended up. And that stupid warg got away with eating one of her cats. She decided to let it go for the minute, given that she'd been assaulted. Me, I was on the road, just spending my time walking. Kind of boring, actually. I did end up stopping by that hostile village, see what I could offer them. And I gave them a few things. Nothing I really wanted. Junky gun. They didn't really care too much either. Didn't improve relations as much as I thought it should. But it was what it was. Marjot researched, the cats ran around like crazy, and I marched myself down the road through the desert. Marjot went to bed at the usual time, about 10 p.m. As did I. And Marjot left those darn kitties in there. At least they weren't on my bed. That'd make me more than a little mad. One of the alpacas seemed to be pregnant about that time. Also, a solar flare happened. Hopefully none of our food would rot while I was out and about. But once again, there's nothing we could do about that. I decided I was going to walk right past where Marjot was hanging out. She had plenty of meals. I'd like to get myself over, sell some of this stuff to some of the friendly tribes on the other side of our home. So that was my plan. Marjot was out picking up dead rats, hauling them to the dead rat pile. Maybe the kitties will get them over there. She also got real sick of our giant corpse pile. Decided she was going to do something about that. We had some Molotov cocktails yet. She could certainly start them all on fire. Wouldn't have to look at them or smell them anymore, hopefully. So she did just that. It did start raining again, though. First, the driest thunderstorm was going down. Seems like as soon as she started that big fire, though, started turning into a rainy thunderstorm. Solar flare ended and none of the meals had gone bad, so that's good. Group of travelers came over. Even had some stuff to trade. Marjot was starved for human attention at that point. So she ran on out to talk to them. See what they had to offer. What news they had of what was going on. If they'd seen me on the road. All that kind of stuff. She sold him some of our beat up clothes. We had beer. They had beer. She ended up buying a bunch of beer off them. She didn't buy any medicine, but she did buy their components as well. In the end, she bought everything she could think. Medicine, components, packaged survival meals. She was nervous of running out of food in my absence. She didn't know I was coming back by, and I tried to creep through where she wouldn't see me. I stopped right next door to get a rest. Other travelers happened to be passing by at that point too, but they didn't stop and say hi. They just buggered on through. And the next morning, I walked on by as well. I crept by to see if she was up to anything, but since I'd be back later that day or the next, I didn't stop in and say hi even. It was hard, but I gotta get rid of this helmet everybody's after. So I stopped and sold some stuff at one place. They had some humans for sale, which I didn't like to see, but I didn't have the money to buy them and set them free. Plus the morons probably get themselves right back into captivity somehow. Marjot was hell-bent on getting all those corpses burnt up. So she went back out and tried again. Didn't seem to be working too well for her though. Although she might just start a huge wildfire. Wouldn't be the best situation. Well, she got them all burning pretty good. Maybe if we roofed over that, we'd have some better luck. Might not hurt to put some floors down so the fire don't spread too. I was almost to my last visit, and I got in there. Nobody was interested in my biomask. I guess that's a real special item. So I sold what I could. I had a bunch of medicine we didn't need, a bunch of camel hide, devil strand. They had components. I thought about buying them. They even had one of those aliens. I did buy the components in the end. They had a crazy alien as a prisoner. I didn't know about that. Might be fun to meet somebody like that though, so I was going to keep it in mind. After that I was headed home. Marjot was still researching. Kitties were in my damn bedroom. Not all the bodies had burned, but most of them did. Marjot had herself a beer buzz. I was just feeling pretty crabby. Having not had any fun in a while. But when I got home, I'm sure we'd take care of that. Originally, I was going to head on up to the friendlies and offer them this mask for free. But in the end, I just left it laying right on the street. Maybe somebody else will find it. I'm not sure what all those jerks were chasing after us for, coming trying to kill us. But it was either that gold helmet and that crazy mask, and one way or the other, they were both gone. So I wasn't going to complain. I'd solved the mission, although not as ideally as I wanted to, and I needed to get back as soon as I could. The rice was ready, there was work to do, and I missed Marjot. So I headed back in. About that time a doe self-tamed. I decided to have myself a beer, sit down and chill out for a quick minute. These alpaca thought it was a good idea to run over the traps, but fortunately they didn't set any of them off. I was going to have to make some fine meals. We were plumb out of most everything here. Marjot was researching. After we'd said hello, I was having myself a beer. Yeah, I got that rotten carcass hauled out that she'd set up for the cats to eat off of. She killed the deer. Unfortunately, it was in our bedroom when she did it. Not sure why I thought it could go in there, but she went in there and cleaned up after it before too long as well. I got to the business of making meals. She realized she had all these cat beds in our room about that time, and I hadn't come in there yet. So she quickly uninstalled all those, and then got them hauled out of there before I noticed. She's a sneaky little git. Turns out, though, I did see those beds laying in the storeroom later on and wondered what the heck had gone on. It didn't take a big leap in logic to figure it out, though. Marjot was out there shearing an alpaca and hauling stuff around. The alpaca were still covered in gear, so I got those things unloaded, and we got everything put away as best we could. I totally forgot to put on my super armor before visiting the city, but that's alright. Turns out it wasn't hostile. I was debating on wearing it all the time, but it wouldn't last very long if I did that. We certainly didn't have the capacity to make more right now. Once Marjot gets a little further along her studies, and we figure it out, I think we will. First, we're going to get decent bionics going, make us faster. We were thinking about moving on. Be nice to live by the ocean. And there's more friendlies over there as well, although there's also more hostile people. But there were some nice spots over there. You know, we dreamed about that in the night while we're laying in bed chatting. And we might just move on over there at some point before we make our final home. Although this place seemed as good as any. A little bit of travel might be good for us. I had to deal with the rice then. There was a whole ton of it. Occasionally I'd take a break, toss some horseshoes. Marjot was trying to tame a couple muffalo. Reason being, they haul more than these alpaca. While she was out there, a raid came. Some people coming trying to kill us. So I grabbed my gun and ran out. I didn't want her getting caught out. There were a whole lot of them. I had to tell the animals to get inside too. So these jerks arrived, ready to do bad stuff to us. And sure enough, they caught Marjot outside. So I went and tried to shoot him up. Hopefully I didn't hit Marjot. Turns out I think I did, but I was doing the best I could in a rough situation. Marjot was chucking them Molotovs at him. Caught one of them on fire. It was a bunch of tribals, fortunately, but man, they can shoot those bows pretty solidly. Marjot was getting beat up pretty good, and it didn't take much before she went down. She didn't have any permanent injuries, but she was cut up and stabbed up. I had to run inside, lest one get a hold of me. About that time, that muffalo she'd been trying to tame went mad. Came running over, which actually works out pretty well, because these jerks are going to have to deal with it. I was shooting the people. The muffalo was charging in. They decided they'd better go deal with that before it deals with them. I decided to run on out and see if I couldn't rescue Marjot while they were distracted by the muffalo. That was going to be my plan. I hoped that muffalo would do a few of them in. At least it distracted them long enough so I could get Marjot rescued. Seemed like our animals were safe and sound for the minute. And I nabbed Marjot, got her in the bed. Decided I'd better use the good medicine on her. They were minding their way right into our storeroom as I was tending Marjot. And then it turns out they decided they were just going to try and steal what they could and take off. I didn't want to leave Marjot untended. I also didn't want all of our stuff to get stolen. As soon as I opened the storeroom door, a gun started shooting in there. I had to boogie on out of there. They grabbed as many of our components as they could, which really sucks because we had quite a few. They even grabbed our advanced components and took off. God knows what else they got their greasy hands on. I killed the guy that had stolen our advanced components. One of them had our gold. 3 of them had components. Others had gotten away with other stuff. I didn't even see what it was. Looked like a shield belt, perhaps. And it was most unfortunate. They were fleeing by then, but that didn't make them drop their stuff. And by their stuff, I mean our stuff. So I gave chase, shooting them the whole way. Just trying to bring a few of them down anyway. I wasn't having any damn luck though. About that time some spacecraft came down nearby. And they did get off with a good chunk of our stuff, man. Which makes me most upset. I killed the ones I could. One of them had survived. Marjot couldn't walk yet, so it didn't make sense to try and get her involved. She was pretty well beat up anyway. I was going to have to do something about this. Our storeroom's wide open to the outside now. And somewhere there were those chunks of spacecraft, but I didn't know where they were. We had a bunch more bodies to deal with. I was going to finish that jerk off that lay there. Thinking about taking the clothes, but I captured her for the minute, thinking maybe we could use something from her. But we'll see. Maybe if we release her, her people will be a little less hostile to us next time. We had a ton of storage space. In part because a lot of stuff had gotten stolen. In part because I'd sold a lot of stuff when I was out on the road. Marjot had alpaca in the bedroom, I noticed. And she must have told them not to come back because as soon as I saw it, they stopped doing it. See the things that go on around here when I'm not in the house. So, the prisoner I nabbed died. Turns out blood loss was too extreme. I couldn't save her. It's not like I'm a doctor. I'm just some schmuck stuck on this planet for the minute. I got her hauled out though. Didn't want Marjot seeing her. There are fires raging around. Some of the bodies out there were already burning, which is just fine with me. Marjot could walk again about that time, so that was good. I was gonna have to rebuild some walls. Marjot thought she'd put on my heavy marine armor, but I dissuaded her of that notion. Again, once we can make some more of it, we'll just wear it all the time, but for now, we gotta get those Molotov cocktails out of the dirt as well. One of our kitties was on fire about that time. Stupid thing, it ran through a fire blaze. Didn't take much for it to go down either. Blast was its name, and I don't think we're gonna be able to save it. Poor kitten died. Left ear burnt off, body burnt to a crisp. And the fires were still raging. There wasn't a lot we could do about it. We were also gonna have to build some more walls to keep our storeroom more secure. That dead muffalo was out there. We were gonna have to get that thing butchered as well. There were dead bodies laying around. Marjot got an infection around that time. And had gone down because of it. So I went and rescued her from the storeroom. And I had to tend her right away as well. I used the best medicine we had. I didn't want to risk her dying here. Not from a stupid infection after everything we'd been through. And the storeroom's kind of a mess. There was still a dead body laying in there. But we both had to hit the hay. Marjot was having a hard time getting around. I was having a rough time in general, just because of all the bodies and the chaos that had been going on around here. In the morning, Marjot could walk again. I had to sleep in. It's everything I could do. Marjot didn't like seeing that body in the storeroom, and I wished I'd gotten it out of there before she had to. But she got them hauled off, put where they belong. She's a real trooper, that's for sure. There was still fire raging. There's still a whole bunch of bodies nearby as well. She was infected, but she was doing pretty well in terms of the recovery. Seemed to be improving. She decided to chill out and have herself a beer about that time, which may not be the best thing when you are infected, but who am I to tell her what to do? Bodies were actually burning up, which was pretty cool. Hopefully they'd all burn away. Wouldn't have to look at them or smell the nasty things anymore. So we hauled bodies. We even got that muffalo brought in. There's a dead bear. A couple dead muffalos, in fact. Our room is a real mess. I'd butchered up some of the muffalo and the creatures. Marjot needed tending bad, but we had ash and junk laying everywhere. I tended Marjot up again. Not as good as the last time since I wasn't using the super medicine on her, but better than nothing. She was doing pretty well with it. Decided to clean up our room, rebuild our traps, get security in place. Marjot was able to get up about that time. She went back to research and I was in bed. I'd seen a lot of corpses. The place was a mess. I was having a hard time seeing out of my eyeball. But otherwise things were alright. One of our alpaca caught itself on fire about that time. The fire was raging right outside our door. Marjot wouldn't go put it out, being that she just refuses to deal with any kind of fire. So I had to get myself up out of bed. At some point, once I realized Marjot wasn't going to deal with this sad issue. So off I went. Marjot was running out there, but she wasn't going to do anything. Maybe put that alpaca out of its misery. Marjot didn't even have a weapon anymore. We'd have to remember, keep her armed so we didn't have any problems next time we got assaulted. It seemed like a real frequent occurrence. That alpaca had gone down. Marjot was having a hard time getting over there. The thing was burning up. Marjot brought it some medicine. She was going to try and do something with it. The fire from the thing was spreading everywhere. It was disgusting. All you could smell was burnt hair and hear it screaming. So I ran over there to see if I could assist. I didn't want Marjot getting burnt up as well. It would just be a matter of time on, no doubt. I don't know why we were trying to save this thing. It had been on fire for quite a while. But we needed these pack animals, so we couldn't hardly let it die. So I put the fire out as best I could. Marjot went over there to try and tend it. She got herself caught on fire as well, but fortunately she was running around in the water. Then she ended up bringing the darn thing in. I kept trying to put out the fire, but it felt like a lost cause, so I just grabbed our extra medicine and ran with it. Decided forget it. Can all just go to heck, man. That fire had really raged out of control for once. Hadn't started raining. As soon as big fire started. Marjot needed tending. The alpaca needed tending. The fire was raging. Took 5 medicine to get that alpaca tended, which is pretty crazy. It was pretty well beat up. It might not be good for anything other than food at this point. Marjot is doing just fine with her infection. It wouldn't hurt to tend it again, though. I was out in the rain just trying to have some peace. Looking through the telescope. Couldn't see nothing but a big gray cloud, though. I went and tended Marjot. She had a burn and an infection. When she got up, she got back to trying to tame Muffalo, but try as she might, she didn't have any luck. She is in pretty rough shape with all the injuries, so as long as they don't get pissed off and start mauling her, I guess it's alright. I was repairing stuff, building walls, fixing walls, trying to figure out how we could keep these jerks from tunneling into our storeroom every time. Might have to put it in a more central location, that or mine around behind it and drop some guns in the hallways. I feel like we're just begging for some crazy assaults if we do that. And about that time, I was going to have to get myself back to cooking. We had a ton of meat laying around, needed something done with it. Marjot was going out to see about training some muffalo. And she tried and tried. Didn't have much luck though. par for the course. I was in bed, just sleeping, having a little peace for once. I was about as hungry as a guy could get, but I didn't have much to complain about other than that. Marjot was off researching. She developed an immunity to her infection, and she was still in some pretty serious pain. Things are rough. It had been a rough couple days. We'd have to do what we could do to recover. Seemed like our alpaca was going to pull through. Not sure how good he'd be after that for hauling stuff, but we'd have to see.